The Twins wrap up their series against the Astros this afternoon, and Kalshi can take your viewing experience to the next level. By using code FANARCHBASEBALL, you can get $10 when you trade 10. So shout out to Kalshi for sponsoring today's episode. But what is going on, Twins fans? And welcome back to another episode of Twins Latest. I'm Sam Calder. Hope you are all doing well. We have got a lot to talk about today, including some very notable roster moves. So stay tuned. But before we get to anything, we are on the road to 500 subscribers. So if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do me a huge favor and hit that button for daily Twins news and updates. Be sure to drop a question for me down in the comments to be featured in our next mailbag segment. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. But with all that out of the way, let's get things started. We will kick things off today, as always, by looking at yesterday's action. Game 2 of 3 between the Twins and the Astros. But before we get to the game itself, Royce Lewis was finally, dare I say, optioned to AAA St. Paul yesterday morning. I mentioned him being out of the lineup on Monday was possibly a sign of things to come in the near future, and wouldn't you know it, he was optioned about 12 hours after I recorded that. Orlando Arcia was called up to take his place on the roster, so if you were hoping for Kalen Culpepper, got bad news for you, it was not him. This feels like what both the Twins and Royce himself needed, because he clearly needs a reset. The Twins need better immediate production. So we'll see how long he's down there, but this is what needed to happen right now. And I props to the Twins for making a difficult decision that needed to be made. We also had Ryan Jeffers get placed on the 10-day IL with a fractured left hamate bone, which is not what you want to hear, and not what the Twins needed right now, especially with how well he's been playing. It sounds like he'll be out for at least the next month and a half or so. So Victor Caratini will take over the primary catching duties. They also called up Alex Jackson, who will be the new backup catcher. But this really sucks. I'm not going to lie. Jeffers was one of the best catchers in baseball up to this point in the season. So losing him is a very, very big blow. But we're also not done there, because Justin Topa was designated for release or assignment. So he'll either join a new team or be sent to the minors if nobody claims him. Travis Adams was recalled to take his spot. And Garrett Acton was transferred to the 60-day IL, which kind of stinks. But yeah, quite a busy day for the Twins front office yesterday and their roster moves. As for the game itself, the Twins were looking to secure the series victory with Zebby Matthews on the mound. And despite a very good performance, they did not. It was a total pitcher's duel the entire way. 2-1 was the final score. Zebby, I would say, was great. Once again, 6 innings, 2 earned runs on 5 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, 11 whiffs on 100 pitches, 5 of which came on his fastball, 4 of which came on his slider. The only runs that he allowed came on the first 2 batters of the game. A leadoff single by Jeremy Pena, followed by a 2-run shot by Isaac Paredes. And from there, Zebby threw 6 scoreless innings, and the Twins, as a whole, pitched a shutout. After Zebby, Anthony Bonda and Travis Adams had 7, 8, and 9. Bonda had the 7th, Adams had the 8th and the 9th. And again, after that 2-run homer to start the game, the Twins pitching staff allowed 3 total base runners the entire night. The offense, however, did not score until the bottom of the 8th. Byron Buxton, who was finally back in the lineup last night, had one of his 2 doubles in the bottom of the 8th on a hard grounder down the third base line. And then Josh Bell, who was hitting third last night with no Jeffers, then smoked a 2-out single down the right field line to bring him around to score. Lance McCullers, who was supposed to be getting the start for Houston last night, didn't throw. It was Jason Alexander who wound up getting the start. McCullers was placed on the IL, actually, like right before the game started. And coming into last night's game, I had never heard of Jason Alexander. He took that personally, I guess, because he threw 6 scoreless innings with just 4 hits and a walk. A fantastic start for the veteran right-hander. Buxton and Bell are really the only guys that had good nights at the plate for the Twins. They accounted for 5 of the team's 7 hits. Brooks Lee had a triple in there as well, but did not come around to score at all and struck out in his other 3 at-bats. And then Orlando Arcia got the other hit and is now hitting .500 as a Twin. He went 1 for 2 off the bench. He replaced Tristan Gray in the 7th and had a relatively soft hit single and a strikeout as well. He actually wound up at third, representing the game-tying run in the bottom of the 9th, but would unfortunately be stranded. There have been a lot of low-scoring losses for the Twins over the last 5 days, which is frustrating. but also not, I guess, super surprising when at least one of Buxton and or Ryan Jeffers have been out each of those games, and those are the two best hitters on the team right now. Well, maybe Austin Martin. I shouldn't say that super confident, but either way, the Twins moved to 22 and 27 on the year, and we'll look to win the series in a grudge match this afternoon, which we will touch on that game here shortly. But shifting gears from yesterday's action, I think it's getting fair to wonder if the Twins as an organization have a legitimate development problem. While they've had no shortage of highly touted prospects over the years and do currently, it's rarely panned out. Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan are, in my opinion, the only two guys that you can look at and definitively say, this guy's a stud. And that might be harsh because there's not a lot of true studs in the league. Although you can make the argument that guys like Ryan Jeffers and Austin Martin and Trevor Larnach, guys who have been solid over the course of the year, deserve to be in that kind of category. But that's up for debate. What I want to do today is break this into categories or tiers, if you will. I'm going to include recent high draft picks by the Twins, as well as guys who were acquired by the Twins as prospects, did not draft them, and kind of just want to look at how their careers have panned out thus far at the major league level. I will not be including players who were traded early and developed mainly with another team. This is the current Twins roster and former draft picks only. But anywho, my first tier I'm calling quality ball players, and that tier includes the three guys I just mentioned, Jeffers, Larnach, and Martin. We're only a very small fraction of the way into the season when it's all said and done, about a fourth, but take it with a grain of salt. All three guys are having very, very good years right now, although Jeffers is, of course, now hurt. All three have an OPS right around 800 or higher, and all three are in the 400 OBP range. They're the quality ball players. That's why they're in this tier, but I don't think we've seen quite enough out of them to put them in that same tier as Buxton or Ryan. Up next, we have the average and nothing more tier, and that is going to include Bailey Ober, Alex Kirilloff, who is now a realtor, fun fact, and Jose Barrios. There were a lot of upside cases and a lot of flashes of that upside for both Kirilloff and Barrios. Both are first-round draft picks. We just never saw enough consistency for me to put both of them in that tier. I think we saw more out of Barrios at times, but he never really developed into that ace like we were hoping he would. And then with Ober, we've seen the flashes. He had a Maddox just last week, but the overall consistency has not been there. He has a career 415 FIP, which is average and nothing more. So that's why he's in this tier. Next up, we have the far too early to tell tier, and that is going to include a bunch of current Twins: Luke Keeschel, Mick Abel, Connor Prelip, Kendry Rojas, although Rojas wasn't really drafted by the Twins, I suppose, but he's kind of developed up to this point with the Twins. Brooks Lee, Simeon Woods-Richardson, and Royce Lewis. There's very different perceptions around all of these guys right now. I would say the first three names, being Keeschel, Abel, and Prelip, we think are going to be very good and have all shown flashes of what they're capable of. Rojas and Lee, I think, are true question marks at this point, and SWR and Lewis definitely have some negative connotations around them right now. Still, for all of them, it's too early to know for sure, and that's why they're in this tier. And then my last group is just the flat-out misses. We're talking guys like Aaron Sabato, Keone Cavaco, if you remember him. I can't remember if he was 2019 or 2021, but a huge reach at the time, middle of the first round, and just never came close to the majors. Cole Stewart, Tyler J., Nick Gordon, Kyle Gibson, Aaron Hicks, although I guess Hicks has a bit of an asterisk. He was a great defender. But then a bunch of other names that I could throw in here as well. My point in all of this is that the misses, I think, far outweigh the hits. And there's a chance that this next wave of talent flips that script. If Walker Jenkins, Kalen Culpepper, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and Eduardo Tait are all great and all pan out, that could change this franchise entirely. But we got to see that happen first. But those are my tiers. Feel free to let me know in the comments which of these you agree or disagree on with, because I'm sure everybody sees it exactly the same way that I do. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of that. But folks, in case you were unaware, baseball season is here, and now you can trade every single game on Call Sheet. The Twins are trading at 60% probability to win the series against the Astros today. That's because Joe Ryan is on the mound. But that means a $100 trade pays out $162 if they win. On Call Sheet, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position for a limited time. Download the Kalshi app and use code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi, trade on anything. But let's talk about said series finale today. First pitch is set for 12:40 p.m. Nice little afternoon game to wrap up the series for the Twins. Joe Ryan is back on the mound looking to build on back-to-back quality starts. And opposite Ryan will be veteran right-hander Mike Burrows. He's not much of a veteran, I guess I shouldn't say. He's 26. He's an experienced major league starter, Mike Burrows. Burrows is not off to the strongest of starts this year. Through his first 9 starts, he's sporting a 5.72 ERA over 50 in a third innings, along with 46 strikeouts to 17 walks. Not great. The expected metrics do tell a slightly different story. Burrows' expected ERA is down at 3.95, and he's done a good job at limiting hard contact. He's not walking many hitters either, so he's definitely ran into some bad luck along the way. Looking at his arsenal, he's got a 5-pitch mix with a 4-seam, a changeup, a slider, sinker, and curveball. His changeup and breaking balls are very good pitches. His fastballs are not. He is in the 3rd percentile of fastball run value, if that tells you anything. So he's going to be mixing in his other stuff quite a bit. Burrows has not been as bad as his surface level numbers would indicate, but he hasn't been great by any means. And the Twins will have their chances. On the other side, with Joe Ryan, he's actually started using his fastball less. His usage was up around 52% earlier in the year. It's now down to 43%, but it's been working for him over his last couple of starts. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I will not be picking against Joe Ryan today. I think he gets his 3rd straight quality start and gets the Twins a series win. My final score prediction is going to be 5-3 in favor of Minnesota. I don't think there's going to be a ton of offense, but that's fine. We'll take a win however we can get it, and a series win at home is always better than a series loss. But to wrap up the episode then, it is time for our weekly MLB Draft Deep Dive. Last week, we talked about Georgia Tech outfielder Drew Burress as a potential name the Twins could look at in the first round. And today, we're going to talk about a possible 2nd-round pick for the Twins. It is Arizona State starting pitcher Cole Carlin. Carlin is a 6'5", 230-pound lefty out of Tempe, Arizona, and it's actually his birthday today. So happy birthday, Cole. Big 21 today. Big day for Cole Carlin. So far this year, he's sporting a 3.64 ERA over 71 and 2/3 innings, and he's been a big riser over the last couple of seasons because of his size and just gaudy strikeout numbers. He has 204 strikeouts over 125 and 2/3 innings between 2025 and 2026. That is about 14.6 K per 9, in case you were wondering. He's also gotten the walks far more under control this year, and there's been improvement every single year on that front. His fastball sits in the mid-90s, right around 94, and can get up into the upper 90s, about 98. It does sound like there's some command and pitch shape concerns with it, though, potentially, so something to monitor there. As far as the secondaries, he's got an upper 80s hard slider/cutter. Sounds like it misses a ton of bats, and it's also something that he can kind of tinker with to slow down and or elongate when he wants to change things up a little bit. He's also got a 12-6 curve and a changeup that are fairly comfortably his 3rd and 4th pitches, although it sounds like his changeup has good movement, so could turn into a very solid pitch. If there's one thing that I'm a little worried about with Carlin, it's the hard contact. He's taken a pretty big step back in that department in 2026 after giving up just 9 homers between 2024 and 2025. He's allowed 12 this season alone, so that's a bit concerning, but overall, there's a lot of upside with Cole Carlin. Some scouts think he'll be a reliever long-term, and he was his first couple of years at Arizona State, but it's far too early to know what he'll turn into, and if a team is willing to take him with a top 50 pick, they're probably going to give him a chance to be a starter. So I would not mind the Twins taking a chance on Carlin with their 2nd-round pick, 43rd overall. I'm not sure how high the chances of him still being there are, but I think there's enough potential that he could turn into a really nice pitcher down the road. But that is what I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning into Twins Latest. If you enjoyed, please do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel for daily Twins news and updates. Drop a question for me in the comments to be featured in our next mailbag segment. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave a 5-star rating. But until next time, I'm Sam Calder, and I'm out.